Hi, this is Myra with Boutique Paint. Today I'd like to show you how to do two-sided ornaments. And basically you want a mold that is symmetrical so that you can make the one side and then flip it over, and you're going to make the other side, and then you're going to put the two together. Some of these work really well, like this deer head. I kind of wish it was symmetrical, but it's not. You can see that the antlers are different, so that's not going to work. You could do the bells, you can do the snowflakes, and of course any of the baubles. So we're going to do resin today, and I'm going to do the snowflakes, and I think I'm going to put a little bit of the mica powders just to give it a little glitz before I start. If I can find a paintbrush. I like to give it a little color ahead of time, or you can paint them afterwards, or whatever you want to do. The idea for this basically is to just make two-sided. I'm making a mess. I get a lot of the mica powder in there, and then we're going to mix up our resin. And I've got already part A poured. I put it inside the Dixie cup. And before I get too far ahead, this is one that I poured already, and I went ahead and put the string in on the first pour. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that. And just clean up any edges, just in case there's run over, which there was on this. And get it ready. Now that's perfectly good for an ornament, right? You could use that, but we're going to do these two-sided this go around. So we're going to go ahead, that's part A, and then we're going to do part B. We're going to give this a good stir. And I do have other videos on how to do the resin. Going to get that nice and mixed up. It kind of turns a milky color when it's mixed up nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this guy, my snowflake. You want to make sure you're getting it into all the little nooks and crannies. Nothing like beating a dead horse. I know I've said this before, but you just really want to get them in there. So take a toothpick and get those moved in there. And then we're going to go ahead and pour, oops, I moved that, this one again. And we're going to take the mold that we already did. In this, you want to make sure that you haven't over poured. You want to, if anything, under pour it a smidge. Make sure you got in there. And then the one that I already put the string on, I'm going to go ahead and just set in there and just kind of push in a little bit. Kind of embed it in there. This one over here, I'm going to take my string, which I tied a knot in. Oops. And then I just pulled the string. Trim that a little bit. We're going to go ahead and just put that in the mold. Like that. Now, you don't have to put it on this pour. I think it's easier when you do it on the first pour. You could wait and not put the string in, do it on the second pour, put it in there, and then sandwich it. Either way, I think this is a little easier. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this one. This is one that is finished. And you can see it kind of spilled over the edges. So I'm just going to pop these off. And this has been done for about a week. And you can see it just nicely still pops off all the parts that you don't want. And then if you have any edges that are kind of sharp, just take your fingernail, or you could take a utility knife and just run it along and get them off. But you can see, and I've got stuff all over my hands, so I'm getting it all over this. Let me see, grab a paper towel. And then you can go ahead and paint this up in any coloring you might want. Make it a little antique-y. Maybe some green with a little bit of gold or bronze. That would be pretty. So we're going to go ahead and wait for this. It kind of shifted on me a little. I'm just going to push that in a little bit more. We're going to let that set up, and then we will paint these two guys up. So I've made a total mess in the time that it's taken for this to set up, but I also want to show you kind of a happy mistake. I tipped this when I tried to scoot this over, and look at what it made. It made this cool little snowflake drop, and it hasn't quite set up yet. Well, maybe it has. May have to give it another minute, but I'm kind of curious to see how it will look once I pull it out. I think this one's ready. And you can see now it would be ready to do the other side, where you just pour the resin right into the mold, and then you just set it in there and sandwich it, and it'd be ready to go. But I'm curious about that. So I'm going to set this aside, and we'll go ahead. I went ahead and put a jar of paint on this because it kept kind of moving around, and last time I did it, they didn't move around at all. So I decided I better put something on top. You could do like a piece of tin foil, like if you did several of them, a piece of tin foil over the top, or a piece of paper, and then put a book, so that if any of the resin got on, whatever, it wouldn't matter. So let's go ahead and see if this little guy is ready. And I did have a lot of overpour on this, but once again, you just clean it up with a razor knife or your fingernails. But it's almost better to have it overpour on you, so that you know that it's connecting. Both pieces would be connected, even though it makes a little bit of a mess. It's pretty easy, as you can see, to clean up. So I did some mixing. Let's get this set aside. I did some paint mixing, and I thought I had a bronze wax or a bronze something, and I don't. So I had this whole thing in my mind, and now it's not going to work, but we're going to go with it anyway. So I used a little bit of Avery, DIY's Avery paint, a little bit of White Swan, and then Old 57 to kind of make a minty green. And yes, I could have used the mint green, but I wanted it a little bit darker. I didn't get that seam. So, try to get it. I might just worry about it later. So what I was thinking, it would be really cool to have kind of a blue-green, and then a little bit of the Old 57, and then bronze on top of it. But it doesn't do you any good if you don't have the bronze. So we're going to do gold, just because I do have that. And it's not going to be exactly what I was thinking, but that's all right. We're just going to kind of layer the different paints. But you can see that you do have a seam here, and like I said, if you took a razor knife and really cleaned it up, it'd work out, and you wouldn't see that. but for the sake of trying to keep things a little bit faster, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to cheat and go ahead and use the hair dryer on this, but I'm going to set this one aside and I'm going to pull this one up first. And I'm just going to set this across the lid like that. And then this one I'm going to do just old 57. Let's see how that one looks. Oop, my brush is a new brush and it didn't bend. This is my favorite, I think, of the baubles. But the mold that's my favorite this year of the Christmas IOD molds is got to be the one with the deer. It's just, I think it's just so versatile. And it, you could use it also year round. You know, it has the bow on it. That's year round. The deer on it. It's just, I think it's something you could use a lot of. That's kind of fun. And I've done videos also on just using parts of the mold, so that you're not using necessarily the whole thing. And that's true with these, any of these holiday molds, is you can use parts of them. You know, you can make stars out of the snowflakes by just pouring a center of it. And that's why I'm curious about how this one's going to turn out. You don't have to use the whole thing. You could just use this. Just the round. Just gotta think outside of the box a little bit. Which is what most of us do, in the fact that, you know, if we're playing with stuff and just going with the flow, that's when we come up with some really fun stuff. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and dry these. And we'll move on and add some layers and some gold. So now that this is dry, I'm just going to show you real quick with a razor knife. I'm just going to take it and just kind of carefully just take the knife. And if you're nervous about doing it towards you, you can do it that way, which is probably far safer. I'm fairly used to using a utility knife, so that's not saying I can't cut off my finger, just saying. So yeah, better to do it away from you. But you can see it's just coming off pretty easily. And that cleans up the edges pretty nice. So this has been a crazy week. I'm behind because I was a few videos ahead, which is a great place to be. And then my entire family has been sick for the last 2 weeks, including myself. And so that got me behind schedule. And then this weekend is our Christmas show at the shop. And so it's the opening of our Christmas season. And I went into the shop just to drop off a few things because I had forgotten some stuff last night. And 4 hours later, I was able to walk out the door. It was just slammed, and which is, you know, a nice problem to have. But yeah, it's been kind of crazy. So I'm behind, and I was hoping to get my work area here nice and clean so I could start the gifts, because I want to start doing gifts for the holiday season. So I'm not sure. It may not get clean quite yet. So you could add you know, duplicate colors to this if you felt like it. You know, just take some of that green that I mixed up and just kind of add to it to give it a little bit more dimension. And you could just kind of highlight, you know, the high spots. But I also want to do some gold. So I'm I'm going to just hit this really quick that I scraped off. You can see that there's a hole there. And that's because there wasn't enough resin right there. What you could do is just fill it with some glue and you're good to go. And that's the other thing too, is if you don't want to do it this technique, you can do your first one, embed your string, and then make your second one, and then just glue these together. And that works too. So, gold. I have some gold wax. And I think before I do the gold wax, though, I want to put some clear wax on. Okay, I found the clear wax, so I'm just gonna, yep, got way too much on there. Just hit it really quickly. And the reason why you want to do your clear wax or a top coat first is because I'm using a mineral, or if you use a chalk style paint, it's very porous. And so if you want to do any, you get too much of like a color on there and you want to do a little wiping back because it's too much, this makes it easier to do that. My neighbor's dog is going crazy over there. Must be a critter in his yard, a raccoon or something. So I'm going to go ahead, let's see, and I'm going to do gold wax. And this is Golden Rule, DIY again. And let's see, find a brush that will be good for that. I'm just going to use my dark wax brush. I'm cheating. And I'm just going to put a little bit. And then you can take a little bit of it off by just putting it on some paper or paper towel. And then you can just get some of the highlights. You know, you don't have to work it all the way in. You can just hit the high spots. I did find some bronze powder. Now I'm going to show you a cheat on this too. If you happen to have a stamp pad that's either bronze or gold or whatever that you might want, the other thing you can do is you can take it and just hit the spots on it too. And that's a different color, but that's okay too. You know, we can mix and match. And you could take your brush and just kind of mix it together a little bit too. But it's an easy way to get just the highlights, the top spots when you're doing it. Just like that. So now on this one, I think I'm going to go ahead and get some wax on that, some clear wax. And then I think I am going to do, I've got some kind of bronze, brownish mica powder. And so I think I'm going to highlight with that and we'll see how that looks. And this one I did 2 different paint colors. And I'm going to just sprinkle a little bit of this onto my paper. Oop. I'll just, now it looks very similar to the gold. It just looks like kind of a little bit deeper brown or gold, but it is pretty. It's a little closer to what I had envisioned. So once again, you're just kind of hitting the top spots. You're not trying to get it down into the crevices. I missed a spot there. But with paint, I can always hit it later. But that's kind of more of the look I was wanting. Let's see, I need a little bit more. And there we go. And that's it. Pretty simple. You can do it two ways. You can either mold them together with the resin or you can glue them together. But put the string in when you do one of the resins if you glue them together, because that'll just make your life a lot easier. But that is kind of what I was wanting as far as coloring there. That turned out pretty. If you have any questions about any of the products I used in this video, you can go to our website at www.boutiquepaint.com. And thank you so much for joining me. Bye. Okay, before I go, let's pull this. Let's pull this little guy and see what happened here. Oh, that's so pretty. Look at that happy mistake. Isn't that just gorgeous? Can you see it? I wish I had something, black piece of paper or something to put it on so you could see it. But that just turned out so stinking cute. Okay, now you can go. Go create. Have fun. Bye.